And I'm noticing the reason I don't like high fantasy normally is because the author plops you in the story like you should already know what's going on. And today I'm just kind of recording on my phone because I don't want to fight to turn on my computer. So today we are going to be talking about a book called Moon Chosen. Now, I have never heard of this book at all until my aunt at Christmas/New Year's, because we had weird holidays, ended up asking me if I'd ever heard of it because one of her friends got her the entire series for Christmas. She was going to let me borrow it, but I felt kind of guilty being first to read a gift that someone had given somebody else, so I just went ahead and bought the book on my Nook. So that's why I don't have the physical copy, because I bought it on my Nook. But about a world that is continuing on after technology ruined the world. So it's all like a post-apocalyptic kind of story. But with that being said, there will contain spoilers for book 1 of the New World series, Moon Chosen. So if you do not want this book spoiled for you, come back to it once you've read it. Now, let's talk about the characters. Characters of this book, we follow 3 different perspectives. Mari, a member of the Earthwalker clan, Nick, a member of the Sun people, and a character named Deadeye, the city dweller. Now, Mari is what's known as a moon woman and has the ability to wash her clan of something called the night fever. And Nick is the technical prince of his tribe, but he is unable to bond with a shepherd. And Deadeye is just full-on creepy, and I think he may be the villain. That's kind of up in the air. But with that being said, let's get into my thoughts on this book. I rated this book a 4-star because if it were not for Deadeye's perspective on things, I would have enjoyed it way more. Because not only did the prospect of Deadeye's whole tribe gross me out, but Deadeye was switched to so little that I forgot many times he was even a perspective in the book. So when it did turn to his perspective, it threw me out of the story because I didn't like his clan, and because he was switched to so often I forgot his POV existed. This is supposed to be set after a technological issue arose in the world that completely collapsed society hundreds of years ago. And I'm thinking maybe a nuclear thing happened, or something else involving technology, like a technological takeover gone bad, or the world shut down after technology collapsed. I don't know. They keep it vague. All they say is technology ruined the world, quite literally. Now, the book says expressly that these are supposed to be human beings, but Mari has the ability to call on the moon to heal the people of her tribe. She can heal people with the moon. The Nyx tribe, the Sun tribe, and the tree dwellers can draw down the sun to give them more energy and more strength. And then, this is going to be gross, so if you're slightly squeamish, walk away now. But Deadeye's tribe are skin stealers. They fillet the skin off of animals, off of other people, keeping them alive, mind you. So the longer they stay alive, the longer the strength is fed to them. And they sew that filleted off skin onto their own skin to get the power from whatever creature they took the skin off of. Now, mind you, that does not sound very human to me. That sounds very magical, and in Deadeye's tribe's case, very cannibalistic and disgusting, which is one of the main reasons I did not like being in Deadeye's perspective. And Deadeye just thinks the whole time that he's a god because he can take the abilities from other people by taking their skin. And just and the whole fact of Mari being able to call on the power of the moon to heal her tribe of what's known as the night fever, because the night fever makes the women of her tribe severely depressed and the men of her tribe severely animalistic, which is why Nick's tribe considers them childlike and unable to care for themselves in the perspective of the women, and animalistic and needing to be killed on sight for perspective of the men. And in that, I feel like there's a lot of racism undertones because Nick's tribe is very condescending and very, I know better than your tribe. You're children that need to be protective, over Mari's tribe. They're kind of enemy tribes, and if, like, they can't coerce. And they say that they're protecting the women of Mari's tribe, but Mari's tribe cannot be held captive because they do become depressed and they do give up on life, and it does damage them. All the while they're holding their women captive, they're killing the men because it's all bad. I didn't like Nick's tribe. I don't like most of Nick's tribe. Deadeye's story could have been written off entirely because, ew, if you're someone that isn't good with body horror, you're not gonna like Deadeye's tribe's side of things at all. And another thing is, because the men of Mari's tribe are so animalistic, and they do eventually turn monstrous, there's a lot of talk of forced intimacy on the women, which was not comfortable to read about. Nothing expressly was shown, but there were moments of almost attacks and aftermaths of someone being attacked, but it was never expressly written on page that someone was attacked in that manner. And it wasn't shown in detail, but it was still kind of good to read. But so we follow Mari, who is one of the main perspectives, Nick, who is this second biggest perspective, and then Deadeye, which again is thrown in there the least, and so small of an amount that I forgot his perspective existed. And then when I realized his perspective existed again, I was like, oh, just go away. But so it kind of becomes this whole Romeo and Juliet scenario where circumstances happen where Mari ends up meeting Nick because Nick had to come to her tribe in order to find one of the puppies that had escaped, because for some reason Nick's tribe has the ability to bond with canines, kind of like how the bond in, if you've ever heard of The Golden Compass and the His Dark Materials trilogy by Philip Pullman, it's kind of like that, except not at birth. They're chosen by the canines. When they're born, they're not born together, and it's kind of like that same thing. But there's also another tribe that we hear about, the cat people, that have the same thing like Nick's tribe, but just with cats instead of dogs. So one day, one of the puppies escapes and finds its way to Mari, who is trying to figure out how to be a moon woman like her mom in order to keep the night fever at bay from the clan, so she can bring down the moon and wash her people of their depression and their mentality, however you say that. But because this dog got away, and dogs are very important to Nick's people, he goes after it because despite being 21 years old, he has not yet bonded with a canine, which is not a good sign because they normally bond with a person from 16 to 18 years old. And being the son of the head of the tribe, is not a good look on him. So he goes after this canine, hoping that this canine will be the one he bonds with. And the canine ends up bonding with Mari, who is actually half Moon Tribe, half Sun Tribe, because her dad was someone from Nick's tribe, who was killed because it was found out he had a relationship with someone from the Moon Tribe. So it becomes this whole story of, hey, Nick figures out that maybe Mari's tribe is not as childlike and helpless as they assumed, and maybe they are doing more harm than good by enslaving their people. Because the whole reason they enslave their people, for some reason, if someone of Nick's tribe gets even a small cut, a very bad infection will kill them because they don't have a cure for it. So they take Mari's tribe under the guise of protecting them to make them work the fields so they don't risk getting cut. So they essentially were like, okay, our people are dying manning these fields, so let's kidnap this group of people under the guise of protecting them and make them work our fields for us, despite the fact that they either die of depression or because they are captured, or if they do manage to escape being held, we shoot them dead even though we're supposed to be protecting them. So it's very heavy on like the differences between the tribes. It's very heavy on like slavery and why it happens and the mindsets of the people that slave them. And it's also kind of like I said, the Romeo and Juliet story, because when Nick goes to find the canine called Rigel, something like that, I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but he ends up getting severely injured on a raid, and Rigel, who had bonded with Mari, leads Mari to him, and she takes him back to her hidden hideaway and nurses him back to health. And it becomes this whole thing of discovering maybe we were hard-headed and maybe these people are better. And it was such a good story. It did take me about 100 pages to actually get into it because it is high fantasy, and I'm noticing the reason I don't like high fantasy normally is because the author plops you in the story like you should already know what's going on, which makes it very hard for me to get into stories like that, because I like feeling like I've been there for a while and feeling like I know what's going on as I'm gradually introduced to it. But when you're just plopped in the middle of the story, essentially, you're left playing catch up and are left confused as heck because you've never been in this world before, yet the author is carrying on like you've always been a part of the world. So it was kind of hard for me to get into, but once I got past like the 100-page mark and started to click into what was going on, it was a good story, except for Deadeye's perspective. I just wanted Deadeye's perspective to never come back each time he came back, which again wasn't very often. And I kind of want to know more about this cat tribe, because they were only mentioned a couple of times because one of the cat members was visiting the Sun tribe in order to find a mate. So again, with all that being said, they don't seem very human to me, because you got people stealing skin and getting like the power of whatever they skin. You have people that can heal with the power of the moon, and then you have people that can absorb like strength and speed from the sun, and it's like, these are supposed to be humans, right? So what is going on here? And then you have people that can bond with canines like they're part of their soul, more so than we bond with canines in real life. It's just, that's part of why I'm wondering if what happened technology-wise wasn't a nuclear thing, because none of this seems very human. But I am kind of excited about book 2, but with the release of Onyx Storm being 8 days away at the point of me recording this, I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish book 2 before that releases, because I am super excited for Onyx Storm. But I might start it anyway and just hold off a couple more days on Onyx Storm, because I am kind of curious. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time.